it was like almost like a little renaissance going on in the Bahamas at that time. I feel
Yeah.
a lot of artists was coming out. People wanted to be artists and doing things.
Yeah, yeah,
We
2011, 2012 type.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they had these little open mics and stuff like that. We started this open mic. Well, let's say we started, but we got it popular because this this open mic started to just like a little hole in the wall. It was by
Graduated 09. I saw this man. I got to, he graduated first, and I'm going down to Bahamas, and my man built a little house, you know what I'm saying? On that plane.
yeah,
And built up a house. I was like, oh my God, my homie got a house. This is amazing. You had started teaching, you started giving back in the Bahamas, you had graduated, came back home, hometown boy made good, got the degree. Here you go, on CYM Moss, got it. Everything was
right,
feeling good. Got a job, you working, in the schools, teaching, what you have learned, passing on the skills. And take my mind, that's it. Take my mind through that period of time. After St. John's, hey, we graduated. Now, where did the Artist Bryan Cee started coming out? Where it said, so you got your skills up at COB, and they taught you how to be an artist at
mm-hmm.
St. John's. So now all of a sudden you're
I
free.
got to
You go back
practice it.
and when did the Artist Bryan Cee started
Bryan
coming
Cee
into market?
started 2012. They coined the name Bryan Cee because we were looking at a name, you know, we was thinking of different things. You know what I mean? I didn't want nothing cheesy. We was thinking like, you know, but yeah, I think it was Vanessa. She ended up being like a dear friend of mine of the family. She was actually family, like a distant cousin,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided I wanted to be an artist. So I what I did is I consulted with her and stuff like that, and I started my own. I got well. First of all, we got with like-minded people, like
Mm-hmm.
different people of my age. It was like almost like a little renaissance going on in the Bahamas at that time. I feel
Yeah.
a lot of artists was coming out. People wanted to be artists and doing things.
Yeah, 2011, 2012 type.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they had these little open mics and stuff like that. We started this open mic. Well, let's say we started, but we got it popular because this this open mic started to just like a little hole in the wall. It was by it started by it was out by Fish Fry, and we would go out there on the weekends on and the night throughout the week and the night, and we do a spoken word and stuff like that. It was like really, you know artsy, hippie kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It was
We
the
were,
scene, baby. It was the
yeah,
scene.
it was a scene, and it was a scene. It was wonderful, man. You had all these different artists and Bahamians, and they were good. They weren't like just doing. They were doing the real thing. So we got together. And we said, man, we can put on a show. You know what I mean? We did it at the Shirley Street Old Theater, man. We got and there and everything like that. We put on a show. I wrote the music. I was like the MD for everybody. I wrote the music and helped them with their art and stuff like that. We had like spoken word poetry. We had visual arts and stuff like that. We called it raw form because it was raw. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, I remember you talking about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. We did that, and it was cool. So I worked in the day, and I was an artist at night, and on the weekends, and it was fun, man. It was like, man, at that time, the sky's the limit. I got a degree, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working, I
Everything's
was
right.
I full of
Like I
energy.
told you, I was looking up to him. I'm visiting his house. He the one with the real
Yeah, at
job.
a home.
Now
Yeah,
he's got a whole persona. He's Mr. Cooper in the day, this
yeah.
teacher extraordinaire, and then by night he's Bryan
I
Cee. You
see.
know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? this
I see. Yeah, it
he's a
was.
musician.
And I was writing and I was like experimenting with different sounds, and I didn't want to go mainstream, but of course, uh I was just trying to do something. We all were.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually that spot became so popular, man. It really you had the best musicians on the island would come out there. So you had this, imagine an open mic with the best musicians on the island, and they could play anything you wanted. And
Mm-hmm.
dude, it was just this hole in the wall, and people were spilling out. You couldn't even fit in there. It was a point I couldn't even get inside. It was like,
I gotta play.
man,
I gotta
we had to sit out. We had to sit outside and listen to the music. It was literally a small space. It was not meant to be like blow up like that. and I thought it was wonderful. I said, man, it was so on fire. I was so excited, to be a
That's
part of this
inspiring
thing.
right there. That's
It was like,
inspiring.
yeah, it's like I'm part of this renaissance, this nuance, and I met so many cool musicians, and they complimented me on my stuff because I did some out there stuff. I did some weird stuff in the beginning, you know what I mean? Because I was experimenting, and then after that, uh, I met Shelly. Yeah, we was doing raw form. I met this bass player, and he was telling me, "Hey, man, I'm working with this girl. They doing rock, just some rock and pop stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
She,
yeah, yeah.
and he would tell me, say, and he brought me and say, hey, man, we could use some keys. You want to play?" So I was like, okay. Now I never played with a band. I never played with other people or anything like that. Only for myself, and so man, that was a different beast playing with people. And Shelly was a taskmaster.
Mm-hmm.
If I would speed up, because she played the drums, she was talented, man. She sang like Adele and
Yeah,
and
I
played the
remember Shelly.
drums,
Shelly could sing, boy.
and I would play, and I would go off in my own tangent, and she would take the stick and hit, boom, what you doing? You know?
What?
And I thought it was like, whoa, I'm an artist. I'm expressing myself here. Can't you see, like, no, bro.
You're like, no.
You can't be expressing yourself here. This is my band. And you got to do what I say, basically. But it makes sense. We have to play in a band. We have to play together. And I didn't understand that concept.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Learning.
unless it was like structured music and orchestra or something like that, that's fine. But playing with in a band was different. I was improvising. I'm going off in tangent. But anyway, so we did that for a while, you know. Um, and that was wonderful. We did that. It was paid well. So I at that time I'm playing in the church. I'm working full time. I'm Bryan Cee at night doing my own stuff. You know what I mean? And I'm teaching private lessons. I had like 5, 4 jobs,
Hey man,
and
shout out to being young, man. Those are the days you do
yeah,
that in your early 20s, boy.
you had the
You ain't sleep.
energy. You had the energy. You had the energy, and I just was trying to do everything. But you know, eventually I did that for about a year, I think, and then I was writing. I was doing. I released Long Lost Brother. That was
Yep.
the first song I did. That I wrote and got produced professionally. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I
Yeah,
got some
I was
great
down there. Yeah,
musicians.
we shot a video for it.
Shot a music
One of the
video and
trips, one of the
everything.
trips we all took down there, me and the boys, and yeah, shot the video for it. And
Yeah, it was
yeah, man,
amazing.
creative vision. Shout out
Put
to
it
them.
out there. We were doing the thing. I'm putting my name out there. I'm Bryan Cee. It was becoming a brand. People started to know about me. It was a buzz. It was good. I was getting popular, And so at that time, it was great. Actually, I'm glad I did it because it
Mm-hmm.
did bring such a nuance to the music. And she was a
Yeah.
phenomenal artist,
Man, shout out to hey man, YouTube it right now. You can look at Bryan Cee, Long Lost Brother.
Yeah,
Great video.
yeah. Check it
Shout
out.
out to people.
It's and at that time, nobody had a music video like that. You
No, they
see what I'm
did not.
saying?
Again, we talking about 2012. I
In
think
the Bahamas, at least, I
yeah, in
should
the
say.
Bahamas, nobody
Yeah,
had a really professionally,
professionally
shot
done.
video.
Shout out to Justin Roth. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
man, Justin, man, came
So
through.
nobody really had a professional. I was trying to like a trendsetter in a lot of ways, but silently. Like nobody.
Mhm.
I didn't say I get credit for being a trendsetter, but I watched it. Like once it's seen now, it's out there. Now
Mhm.
everybody wants to try to do something better or on top of that, or now it started setting the tone for like, okay, this is what we're doing now.
Yeah, this the new standard. Okay, hey,
This is
this
the
is
new standard. So
yeah.
then after that, I started seeing, a lot of growth, which I was happy to see. I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, I was always about the scene. I was always about at that age. It was just like, hey, I want to create this whole world. But I was naive at that time too, because that's not how the world works. That's not how things work out. I was, I wanted us all be a happy family. We all work together. And, I'm Bryan Cee, conscious encouragement for everybody. I'm encouraging everybody. You know what I mean? But no, it was a lot of jealousy. It was a lot of
Mhm.
backbiting. So funny story. I started my band. I left Shelly, started my band,
Started your own thing. Yeah.
and we were doing really well, man. We were getting gigs, we were getting paid. I was pushing because I knew how to do this thing. And man, they mutiny against me. It was the strangest thing. They all, not all of them. It was lead singer and everything. Uh, because I was just
It's
the
almost like
MD.
things were going too good. They couldn't just leave a good thing
Yeah, I
alone.
think what it was they were afraid because I was trying to push us to go to Atlanta Carnival. I was trying because I got connections to play in Atlanta Carnival, and I was pushing to do different things, you know, like
And it
that. But
wasn't, yeah, and that was scary for them.
it
And a
was
lot
it
of
was
times,
terrifying.
unfortunately, and a lot of times again, conflict, man. Unfortunately, instead of having the conversation, instead of really being vulnerable and saying, "Hey, I'm scared about this," or "Hey, I don't
Right?
really want to do it," they gotta what's more just rebel, do something crazy,
Yeah,
and
they
blame it
told
on
me.
you, and act
Yeah,
out instead of actually saying what it
they,
is.
they ripped one right through me, and I didn't see it coming, man. I mean, honestly, that's a big theme in my life, bro.
You
It's
never see it coming.
never see it coming, man. It's like because I'm
Yeah,
just, I guess, in my own little world, and I thought, I
yeah.
was directing us to I was hungry. I was anxious, not anxious, but I was ready to explore new higher heights, man. I want to go international. I wanted to, you know, I want to do the thing. I wanted to play this music and create, so we were creating Bush Fusion at the time, trying to enhance the Bahamian indigenous music, rake and scrape, and trying to expand it. And I was like just adding different genres. We'd add metal to heavy metal to the like rake and scrape, and of course I did classical with reggae, and I was just like it's like I had all these different uh things, and I was just kind of putting in the pot and see what works, see what tastes good. This, let me try this. I was
Yeah.
cooking up a bunch of different things. I didn't have a lane. I'm
Hmm.
still trying to find myself as an artist, trying to find what's my sound, what it is,
Hmm. You
so
had big
that.
ideas, but you was on a little island.
Right, and that's the thing. I was I
Ideas
was on a
on a little
small
island.
island, and then it came to a point where I think I created a reputation for myself after that. I noticed similar, like nobody really wanted to work with me. You know what I mean? It was
Hmm.
like, yeah, I don't know what it was. And it just felt very isolating,
Hmm.
and I didn't get support. So I was trying to do different things with the tourism and stuff like that. And there was these different artists that were had the platforms to help us out, and I would go to them, and it was just like
No love. Yeah.
no love. So it broke my heart because at the time, like I told you, I had this idea of this utopian. I'm an idealist, I'm like, we all Bahamians, we all want music, we have more in common than anything that we don't have in common. We have more in common than we don't. So I don't understand, and I just want to love you guys, but they're like, nah,
Yeah.
man.
Hence the theme of again your first single, the first record you ever put out. A long lost brother. It was about again long lost. What I'm saying, getting together,
That's
reconnecting. Being in community.
yes,
That was it's the theme, and so you're trying to get that vision and bring that into like that art. Bring it into reality. But
right.
again, you're dealing with people. And like I said, the rebellion kind of came, man. And I think is that kind of when you said, "Hey, I think I need to go back to the States," or
Yeah, because I didn't see. I wanted to do this. I still had a dream, you know. I wanted to do art. I wanted to make a way, and I don't know where. I just knew I couldn't do it here.
yeah, I
I
don't know
felt
where I
like,
can do it, but I know I can't do it on this 21/7.
yeah, I
I ain't
missed.
done it, up and down
Yeah,
this whole island trying and yeah, trying to go.
yeah. I needed to explore while I was still young,
Had the
relatively,
energy, had the energy.
and I didn't have anything to tie me down, terribly. So I was a little rebel in a way. I wanted to do things my way. I didn't like being put in a box. I didn't like the structures of this.
Mhm.
And I want to teach outside. We in the Bahamas. Let's go outside. And let's go listen to
Yeah.
sounds. I wanted to do different things like that. I didn't care about the grading and all of this testing and all this. I was like, man, screw that, man. Let's put on a production. Let's put on a show. And that was my thing. I always wanted to let's play. Let's
Hmm.
play. I just want to
Right.
play. And but of course there was all these assessments, and I just couldn't do it. So I said to myself, I'm gonna chew my foot off and get out. Best way to do it. they said, hey, go back to school. That was an avenue. And I said, I miss school. I miss school. I miss being in an environment
Yeah,
of
he's
being
definitely
other
he's the
players.
nerd. He's the nerd out of all of us for sure. Because I had just started grad school. Like I said, we just got out of school. He's working out of school, and I had one calendar year after I graduated. I was graduating spring 2010. By fall 2011, my butt is back in school as well, in grad school. No small part to my mom, who's a professor at the grad school at the time. And keep in mind, people, the economy at this time, it wasn't so great. Coming out of high school, coming out of college, after the housing crisis, all this stuff is down. Right after college, man, I'm working at a freaking gas station. So like I said, I'm looking up to Brian. I'm working at Super America. I'm at a gas station. I'm like, hey man, I ain't got I got a real job at all. So for me, I'm coming at, grad school don't sound so bad. I can tell people I'm living in my mom's basement, but I'm in grad school. That sounds like a better look. So and then so that kind of setting the stage, myself and then my cousin, who would later on go on to become your wife. She
Crazy.
comes, I know,
I didn't
crazy,
bring
I know.
that
We'll
up
get
yet.
to it, people, we'll get to it. But so this theme of school, all right, I'm back in school. She comes up to Minnesota for grad school at the University of Minnesota, and then all of a sudden, right behind us, now my boy's talking about school too. It was just in the air. And what was wild is that you even ended up back in Minnesota, because again, this
Yeah,
man thought he was going to be in Europe. First of all, he was trying not even be in this country. Thought he was going to Europe. Then again, Juilliard, the East Coast, all these music schools are still there. And then, but fate would have it, you ended up
yeah.
back
I
in
did.
Minnesota.
I did apply. An audition. I
Mm-hmm.
went to Ann Arbor in Michigan. I applied there.
Yep. Michigan. Yep.
Yeah, but it wasn't a fit.
Yeah. Yeah. Again,
You know.
these
Um, then I was applying to these experimental new
programs.
degrees, programs. They were like improvisation, trying to, artist programs. I didn't care. I just needed to get in. And then my idea was like, okay, once I get in, I'll figure out the rest. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I'll make it work for me and finagle. Because one of the things I did say, I didn't I just went after my bachelor's, I just left. I just went straight
Mm-hmm.
home. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
explore. I didn't do any
Yep.
internships. I didn't really like, you know, say, hey, look at other opportunities. So now I got an opportunity again. I was not going to waste it. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I already gave back. And I did my obligation. I felt at least,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and I said,
Education
okay.
to the children. Yeah.
So we went to Boston,
Okay.
Boston, uh, New England Conservatory. I got in, but I don't have $90,000 to pay. They didn't want to
Boston,
give
you
me a
said, yeah.
scholarship.
Woo.
90,000, man, and I could have got in. I tried to get in even on tuba, and I even tried Yale. Uh, Tried that and all. I, you know, but it was always the money. The main thing was like how,
Everything is funny,
but the
but the
money.
money.
Yeah. So, well, with I looked up. So actually, I could have gone to Cuba. So I was looking at Cuba. I was looking at Canada. I was looking at Amsterdam. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so Amsterdam was pretty close. I could have. It was actually whittled down to Amsterdam and McNally Smith. And so it was like, man, it could have gone either route. Like I keep thinking about that. It could have gone either route. But I got into McNally. We did that. I went there and auditioned and got in, and it was affordable. It was affordable. You
Yep.
know,
McNally
I
Smith
was
is in
I had
St.
some
Paul,
savings
downtown
and
St.
stuff,
Paul. Yeah.
and I figured once I could work, I could pay off the rest or whatnot, or we could figure it out. But this at least I could get in. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I got there, and
Yeah, man.
that didn't work out either because
no, no, it did, man. No, we're gonna tell the truth. All of a sudden, we're a house full of students at this time. We're all in grad school at the time, at the same time. But no, man, McNally Smith was awesome because again, that's where all the artists were, man.
yep.
That's where the dream, like that's where the excitement was. That's where
Oh
the
yeah,
world of the world just kind of opened up, and that was a period of time too. While you're doing your grad school thing, that
yeah,
again, I think a lot of times people think school would hold them back from being an artist. But no, you were able to parlay that into actually, furthering your artistry, and eventually, we were able to put out your actual first, album.
Yeah, my first
You
album,
know, even actually,
Vibe of Life,
the Vibe of Life by the Vibesmen, man. It
by the
was
Wiseman. Man, that was one of the that was one of the best bands I've ever had.
yo. Yeah, man. So yeah, of course, you're at a grad school with a ton of other musicians, and just like again the Bahamas, y'all get together. Hey, let's make a band. And
Yeah,
that
because
place was just easier to do it because everybody was looking to do that. You weren't the only band in town. It was a couple
the
others.
way McNally Smith was run, you had what they had several bands, right? That the students did, and then the school had bands as well, like they call them ensembles or whatever. And the money making band, what was like the face of the school, was the jazz band. And they were really
Mm-hmm.
good. That was the way they would get sponsorship. My friend Ernest, that's how he got
Yep, yep, yep.
scholarship into you know because he was really good, violinist.
Playing
So
violin, killing it.
I didn't fit nowhere. Like, and that's always my problem. I'm just on this anomaly that I don't fit into any band. So I did reggae at the time. So they put me in like a ska reggae,
Collective.
ensemble. But
Oh, there you go.
that it, that it wasn't me. And I was like, this ain't my thing.
Yeah,
And I
ska reggae in St.
yeah,
Paul, Minnesota.
right.
Yeah,
I was like, this ain't me. I was like, I don't know
the
what's going on, but
authenticity wasn't.
yeah, but I'm here,
Yeah,
So
make it
now
work.
I'm like, okay. I remember I came in with this guy named Tony, and he would but look like a Viking, man. I call him Viking to this day, And he was a
Yeah.
drummer, a percussionist, and he would always tell me, man, he said, "Hey, let's start a band." I would be joking. I'm like, I'm not starting no band, man.
Mm.
Bands are trouble.
I know, right? Hey, man, I just had a rebellion, a mutiny,
Yeah,
with my own people. I don't even know y'all like that.
yeah, so I was like, and then too, I was with that in that ska band, so I was just like not feeling the vibe. I was like, I don't know. So I didn't really I went in when I got into school, I felt like a misfit. Like I made a mistake. I was like, what am I doing here? This
Dang.
is but it was artists. Like everybody was different artists, man. You saw different hairstyles, different I wasn't the only one with like like
Yeah, nah.
different hairstyles and stuff like that. So I got my dreads draping, and then people got spikes, people got this going on. It was different. It was interesting, but I was like, okay, uh, I don't know what I'm doing here. But he would keep bugging me. Hey man, let's start a band. Let's start a band. Let's start a band. And he got into my skin. I was like, man, you know what? I said let's do it because I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get a job.
Yeah, as
So
an
I said,
international student, yeah, you're not allowed to work.
I
Exactly.
couldn't. I wasn't allowed to work. So I was like, I know how to do this. Let me
Mm-hmm.
start a band, and I know how to make my own money.
Mm-hmm.
At least I thought.
I'm a
But
hustler, baby.
so man,
Don't
we
you
did
know?
that, and we became. I remember like people were coming to us. They were like, we started getting a buzz. Like we started to get good. We started to get better. We was creating our own thing, and of
Mm-hmm.
course, when you're getting better, you start getting the haters.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And again, it didn't hurt that somebody came up with the great name, the Wibesman. That was
Yeah, that was a good
dropped out
name.
of the sky from certain brilliant people
Yeah, that
who,
was a good
who did a
name.
little managing on the side of the said band, but this ain't about me. So
That was amazing though.
it
When you
was a
came up
good
with that
time, man. We was
name,
having a great time in life at that point,
you
man.
came up with that name, dude. Yeah, so yeah, because I was like, Eric, you got the gift of gab. I don't want to
What should we
talk to
call this
people.
band? Like,
You can talk to people, man. Just talk to them and try to get us gigs and try to, you know what I mean?
hmm
And you end up getting us one of our most successful gigs. It was at the market.
Yeah, Midtown Global Music Festival,
That was
Midtown Global
amazing, man.
Music
I was like,
Festival.
how did you
Yeah.
get us that gig?
Yeah,
Like,
it was no man, that was again a period of time in my life too where again I was just trying to be helpful, I was kind of going through some transitions myself, grad school, figuring out into that stuff, what I kind of wanted to do. And I just went to the business side of it. I learned how to set up an LLC, which led us to the LLC that I have that, today that, we're on this platform, the business bank accounts and, all these other things. And so that, we could do legit stuff. So when I could go to the Cedar Cultural Center and literally they could write a check. and I could like it was one of them things where like we
Yeah.
set it up for us to be something big, but it was just all that I had known. I didn't know what else to do. We were all just operating with the best that we
We
could.
were doing, we were putting
Yeah,
the infrastructure in place, and then
infrastructure, yeah.
that's what we were doing, and we were building upon it. I think we did a good
And we
job.
were and the scene. Like I said, we had you had haters, of course, as you get more
Yeah,
successful. But a lot of people did love us, though. I will
that's
say,
what I'm
a lot of
saying.
people
So with
love.
the love, yeah, you got like uh, it was. I would say, I shouldn't even highlight the haters. I shouldn't even say that because it came on a left field. People you wouldn't think would hate, like you had instructors being
Yeah,
starting to be like instructors at the college that just hating, saying,
heard
because
about your little band. Yeah, heard about the
well,
little.
well, here's the thing: we were a reggae band. That's how we went under. We started like a reggae band, but we wasn't really reggae. We
Here's the
we were
thing.
something else.
It was. It's the truth. There was a hybrid because again, you from the Bahamas, and the rest
Mhm.
of the guys were from Minnesota, South
Right?
Dakota. Had another brother that popped in every once in a while. Caroline, who was singing, she was from Nigeria, and so it truly was a collective. And you guys all had love for reggae and like some of those
Yeah,
themes, but in terms of the way you play, like your personality is gonna come out of it.
it
And
was
I really
different.
think that was again the vibe of life. Again, check it out, people. It's
Yeah,
available. Look it up. YouTube and all of that.
it's
And
on
I think that was
YouTube,
YouTube.
SoundCloud, Brian C. SoundCloud. Check it out.
Yeah, check that out, man. And because that was a time that I truly believed like your writing started to come together. You started to like really, become a writer and an artist, and to make a whole collective. To make I think it was like 7, 8 tracks.
Hmm.
That was I've really saw the again the band leader Bryan Cee, the composer Bryan Cee, the stage man, the showman. It all
Yes.
was that was the development. Those were the training grounds. Transporting from Nassau, Bahamas. Transported that energy and expanded on it in St. Paul, Minnesota, and to the point, like as you said, man, we're ringing bells. The professors know us. Everybody in downtown St.
Yeah.
Paul, it seemed like, knew
Dude,
exactly
anywhere
why
we
from
went,
where.
anywhere we went in St. Paul, man, I remember we went. It was you know, she was my girlfriend at the time, my wife. We would go down to St. Paul, and people would say, it was such a good thing because St. Paul is like a big small town or a
Yeah,
small
big
big
small town.
city.
Because Minneapolis, because people don't know,
Yeah,
it's a twin city.
it's a
Minneapolis
twin
is the
city. Yeah,
biggest city next to it. St. Paul is the
St.
smallest.
Paul is a lot smaller, but it's a city,
Yeah, a
and
lot of
it's
culture.
really really cool. It's really charming. It's like a little European little village, man. It's nice, and it's quaint.
Hmm.
And you know, we would get like free food. Like people were like, "Oh, Bryce, come in," and my wife would be like, "Oh, I can get used to this." I'm like, "I was the big
Yeah,
dog," and
exactly.
it was
For free
amazing.
starving grad students at the time, we all sitting there in grad school broke as a joke, man.
Yeah,
To get any type of
bro,
privilege or status, what I'm saying, as we went around, we we was doing it.
bro, man, we were broke.
Broke in a
It
joke,
had no,
man. Oh
yeah, no
man.
money, bro. But we
None.
didn't know. I felt like we just was trying to survive. We didn't. We were building for something more. We were putting in the groundwork, and I
Mhm.
felt, and I was still had that drive. Like I had that, so I was like, dude, this is it. This is great. This is building. I loved the idea. I loved what it was. How we were developing, and we had fun, man. We toured in Iowa. You
Yeah,
know,
you went on tours, yeah, man.
yeah, we went on tours. We even did a corporate gig. Then people wanted us, like they wanted us to headline. And so when I
Mhm.
did the Vibe of Life,
Yeah,
that
you
was
traveled.
towards the end of things because life changed and life was about to change because
Yeah.
my daughter was
Yeah,
about
and
to be
again,
born.
during this time, again, the man does get married. My cousin
Yeah,
Jennifer, who I was living with, at the time we was in grad school, and all of a sudden Brian joined the bunch, and hey man, we all became like a big family, basically, and
yeah,
and it was really cool. And again, we're finishing grad. We got to school, but we're finishing up. We're wrapping it up. I think Jen graduated first, and then it was coming up towards the end of your time, and so I think the big push too was taking advantage of the facilities, taking advantage of like again recording
right.
our stuff, like to actually get a real professional album, put out. Like I said, while we have no money, We were broke people. How
Yeah,
you supposed to create a whole album being broke? Ask Bryan Cee. He did
yeah,
it.
right. Because we had the state of the art. They had there's a million
Everywhere.
$1 million facility that we could record, and one of the professors there, he was, he worked on like Paul Abdul's records and stuff like that. These were like industry people,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Shout out to Chopper. Yeah, that was a guy's name.
Chopper,
Chopper.
man, like,
Yeah,
so
baby.
he produced my album, and I had the top players, man. I had players at my fingertips. I always liked live. I wanted horns. I wrote for it. I wrote horns. I had whole horn sections. I had like three backup singers. The
Bro,
works, man.
like I said, this is the man. He was on another level, Brian. I said this man wrote
Yeah, it
horn
was.
section pieces. There.
I had to write charts. I mean, I had to write these charts out, and I'll never forget. Like Chopper, he would always play. He just he just used to clown on us all the time. Like, oh, you don't know nothing. Da, 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 da. Like, and then he went and said, look, what do you think you're doing? You don't even got no charts. You ain't got no. It's like, I got charts right here, man. He's like, what? Let me see. He's like, wait a minute.
He was impressed. Like, wait, oh,
He said, these are pretty good.
there you go.
I was like, yeah.
Hey,
I was like, we doing this or we doing this?
there you go.
So, man, I'll never forget, man, Matt Trice, man. So, I gave everybody names. I gave Tony Viking. You know what I mean? I think I called Malcolm Shakes or something like that.
Yeah, Malcolm
Uh,
guitars.
uh,
Yeah.
but Matt Trice, man, it was this cat, very talented dude, saxophone player, man. He really made that album.
Had them horns, bro. Yeah.
He's a saxophone. This cat was so like. I remember we in the recording studio, and he's like this, and I'm like, the music's playing, we're jamming, and I'm like, is he gonna play? And he's just like, he just went on. I was like, oh my god, when he played, man, it just killed it, man. He wailed. It was like a wailing. Like it was the horn was talking. We was having the conversations. The instruments
Mm,
were, he did he did end up doing like a track. He played all the horn sections for me, actually, for the woodwind.
mm,
He did a baritone sax, he did the alto sax, he did, um tenor sax. We got that
man.
fat sound, like, it was like, and I tell you, this wasn't this wasn't calypso or soca or reggae, but it had that Caribbean flavor to it, but it was something totally
Something
different.
different. The vibe of life was different, baby. The
The
vibe
vibe of
was
life was a different. Every time I go back and listen to that, man, especially Take My Life. Oh my God, man! I just like that song, and I actually wrote that song because of my last band.
really
You know what I mean?
okay. Yeah,
The
that was
mutiny.
good. Yeah, man. Oh, this is a great transition. Exactly this, man. Because you do have a new project out. We
Yes,
want to make sure we highlight that, man. He's got a new project
please.
out, the
Yeah.
Bluebird EP. You know what I'm saying? 3-track EP, man. It is awesome. It's on all platforms, on iTunes, everything. Um, and as you said, I'm going back to again your first single, "Long Lost Brother," your
Hmm.
theme of getting everybody together.
Hmm.
As you said, now you get to your actual first, whole album that you put together. "Take My Life" was one of the lead tracks. Again, drawing on your experience with your band mutinying on you, from the
Right.
Bahamas, so the things are getting more personal as you're writing and you're developing, and
Hmm.
I think honestly it kind of really culminating into this project you have here, Bluebird, man. And I definitely want to again talk about these tracks. The title track Bluebird. I remember you again because I get sneak previews because that's my boy. I remember from the first time he started saying the lyrics to me, I was like, yo, man, that's catchy. That's gonna I wanna fly high. I was like, wait a minute, you might be onto something here, but your writing, as you got, as I started to listen to what you're really saying, man, kind of take me through the process of, writing this one. How is it different, from your other, things that
This
you
one,
compose and put out there? And again, bro, what's I feel like it's on a different level. I feel like this is the next level in the evolution of Bryan Cee. And
this is definitely a different Brian C that I don't even recognize. Um, Brian C, I've always been writing. My style was always, I always wrote happy stuff, like, tropical, very
Mm,
uplifting stuff, very,
yeah.
conscious
Again,
encouragement for everyone, right?
again, another one out there, "Going Home." There was another song you wrote called "Going Home" back in the day.
Right.
It was about what? People from the
Oh,
Bahamas. Again,
yeah.
you ready to go home. You ready to get out that cold, go back. I'm going home. So again, writing about life, everyday
Hmm.
life, but making it a great thing, man. But then, like you said, it just continued to.
But Bluebird, this album, this is this album is a combination of me going through the dark night of the soul.
Mm, Dark
You
Night of the
know,
Soul.
you're talking about mental health. Yeah, I Dark Night of the Soul is not just a depression. It's more like it's a depression of the soul.
Mm,
You see, I went through a tough time. 2023 was a really rough time. Things weren't Nothing seemed to work, and that's what happens in the Dark Night of the Soul.
mm,
I think because I even nothing works. Everything wasn't working out. Anything you put your hand on, it just didn't come to fruition.
yeah, a
Um,
lot of
you
disappointment. Yeah.
Lots of disappointments, lots of setbacks. I started to feel stagnant. I didn't, um,
Mm,
I wasn't working, so I wasn't making a whole lot of funds, and I had to
yep.
support a family. So there
Yep.
was the stress of that. And then, you know, just I felt I didn't. You know what it
And
is,
again, I remember again your music too, because there is another album. Again, I know Andre 3000's got the instrumental album. Everybody's on now, but
right?
before Andre did it, all right, my man has an instrumental album out there called Diary of a Pandemic. Coming out in
Right,
2022. I'm sorry, starting the 2020, pandemic. A lot of
right.
disappointment. I go into it myself, kind of the catalyst for the show and everything. But my man
Hmm.
was writing music during that time.
Yeah, because
What I'm saying?
I had
And it
time.
was
Because I was being a parent and I was being a dad. I hadn't released any since the Vibe of Life. I hadn't released anything. I didn't release any music. I wasn't performing. I wasn't doing anything.
life
I was
happened again. We
I
grew
was
up.
being a parent. I was being a
Yeah.
dad. We were trying to figure it out. Me and my wife trying to figure out how we're going to survive. We're trying to find daycare. We were trying to
Hey, real talk. Daycare
work.
is expensive in Minnesota, boy. What you
Yeah, I
talking about?
right. We were moving. We decided to move
Mhm.
to Illinois to be closer to family and stuff like that. And a lot of things changed. And so, the pandemic happened, and now all of a sudden, all we had was time. And I was like, wow. At the time, I was working in the church, and I've been missing, getting back into to the classical. So yeah, I had this time, and I was like, this is a gift from God. I'm not gonna waste this time. I gotta create. I have time now. I was like, man, and all the ideas started coming to me. So I did basically a track for every uh stage because it was like got to see the world during the
Mhm.
pandemic go through these stages. First, it was like I have a track called "The Virus,"
Yep.
and I was like, okay, what is this thing? It's very mysterious and everything going like that. Then I have a track called Social Distancing now. We gotta, distance, and this is a whole new thing. Every track was basically
Mhm.
a my diary of what I experienced going through the pandemic. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But pandemic. I have a track called Trauma, and that's for the George Floyd you
Mhm.
know, incident and that would happen. So, but I was such in a creative spot, and it was
Right.
like,
And he made this all again. This is an instrumental. All these feelings were just instrumentally. Like again, like I said, it was a little ahead of his time right there. People weren't,
right.
you were conveying
I-
emotions and feelings about again George Floyd, the pandemic, whatever. But again, we didn't have this interview, platform even set up to explain what was going on behind those tracks to really, complete the artistry of it. But
yeah.
you didn't let that stop you. Like I said, you still wanted to be creative and put it out there. And again, you can check it out right now, still on Diary of the
Oh,
Pandemic.
mhm.
Bryan Cee. Check out those tracks and but I believe a lot of that too. I could kind of hear the musicality that leading into like again the full expression, which is now your EP of
It's
Bluebird. I feel
true.
like it's like the music and the undertones that you had, and now it combined with the lyrics. And
Hmm. It's a Yeah, you're right. It's like an evolution. It's growth. But yeah, while everybody was depressed and going through everything during the pandemic, I was liberated. I was free.
Yeah.
I was happy. I was like, and I live in the burbs. I took walks every day. I was out in the forest. I was in nature communing with God. I was just happy as can be. And I'm a little bit of a recluse sometimes, so this was great. I mean, social distancing is this has been something I've done all my life.
There you go.
I'm well
Hey, some
versed in
people.
this.
Hey man, some people were not mad about all the masks and the distancing during the pandemic. Not everybody was upset.
And
Okay.
I was well versed. I was happy. I was like,
Yeah.
man, like just not to deal with people and get drained emotionally and offend nobody or anything like that. He just, man, this is great. I mean, everybody was, and two, I wanted to be away from everybody because everybody was terrified. You could see it on their faces. The
Oh yeah,
fear,
terrified again to sneeze to do anything. Oh, I remember it was definitely like again a time of fear. It was a
too
time of
much
fear.
fear. That's what I didn't. That's why I didn't want to be around anybody because it was like the fear was like COVID. I feel like like you would catch it. You know. I
I
could
like
see it in
that. Yeah,
their
the
eyes.
fear was like COVID, man. Like you could catch that fear.
Yeah, you
Absolutely.
can catch that fear, and I've developed a lot of anxiety since moving to the United States. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Because it's just always it, you got to be so. Ooh, you know what I mean? It's not relaxed. Everything is serious or offensive, or could get you in a lot of
It can
trouble,
turn
or
quickly. Yeah,
could
again,
get you
things.
killed. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Look
things.
at George Floyd and that whole situation to see that to actually watch that and witness that. Say, hey man, I can't breathe. Get off my neck. And like, oh my god,
Hmm.
like, and the guy was just there on there like, yep.
No, man. Hey, I say it. That's what it really got me off of social media. For real. After that, like I didn't really, the negativity and things that were just out there. It was just too much. And and again, artists in general, I guess are have to be sensitive in a certain sense. They have to be, aware in order to have the pulse on things, in order to, you know, in order to, yeah, have the pulse, on things that are working.
Artists are the newspapers of humanity.
Mm,
We tell humanity, we portray what's going on. And we don't do art for show. At least most of us. We do art because it's the most selfish thing in the world. It's because this is how I feeling at the time, and this is a way that I could express it in a way. And if you happen to resonate with that, awesome. That's great. You know what I mean? I hope that and we, yes, as artists, we do want you to appreciate it. But as I get older and as I mature, I could care less.
mm.
I realize, and it's like, you know, uh, because even with my EP, like I let my mom listen to it, and your mom's supposed to like everything, right? That's your mom's, right?
Right. And then she has the biggest
Yeah,
fan.
and she
Taking
is
this
one of my
word
biggest
biggest
fans. That's
fan
your mom,
full
and
sequence.
she she not feeling this one. She was like, especially as a particular track. She was like, "Why is it so dark?" And da da da. Da. I was like,
Oh yeah, yeah. We'll get to that,
"Yeah,"
man. For real.
because she's used to me writing happy stuff. And so I said, but people get they try to peg you and put you in these holes and they say, "Hey, this is who you are." I can't stand that.
Mm-hmm.
Do not try to pigeonhole me because how you know what I am, and I'm still evolving and I'm still growing and figuring it out myself.
You
I'm
know,
this constant thing. You
yeah,
know,
man. Disrespect. The
it's
disrespect.
it's really it's the highest form of disrespect. But people do it all the time. They tell you, and they do it such in a sly way. Why do you know you're like this, and you're this? So, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, and at first I used to ignore it, but I noticed they say it often enough and often enough. You start questioning yourself. Wait a minute, what
Why?
vibe am I giving off? Like that you because this is getting
Why are you
creepy
so
now.
comfortable telling me who I'm supposed to be,
Because
sir?
people need to categorize you. People need to put you in a box, something that they could digest, or they want you to conform.
Mm-hmm.
Always my life. Why aren't you conforming? Why you gotta be so different? Why you cannot be like, like this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Uh and,
Yeah.
and,
So
and that bothers me because
so
I'm not.
yeah. exactly. And so that's why I really I resonated again. Like I said, I got the preview of the song when you had Bluebird and those lyrics,
Yeah,
man. Want to fly high in the sky like a bird. You know what I'm saying?
yes.